everyone.
Hi.
You are watching and listening to Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And today I have a big pleasure to introduce my special guest. Her name is Layla. You can see Layla Sabourian, right? Sabourian, am I pronouncing? Because I've known her for quite a while already, but I never used your last name. So kind of. So Layla, thank you so much. If you can wave to everyone. Yay.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And let me introduce my amazing guest for today. And the topic actually is teaching geography, and not only geography, but science through cooking. This is very, very intriguing. And it's really the purpose of this interview with Layla is to inspire you, especially if you're a woman, to reignite, refire, and refuel your life, and also get some wisdom and the words of wisdom from Layla through her experience to how really to manage everything in life. And we'll get into that. But before we start, Layla, if you, with your permission, I will give people a little bit of your official bio so that they can kind of get the background, the backdrop story about who you are.
Yes.
So, thank you. So, Layla Sabourian, her international career has focused on product management, educational consulting, gamification, and technology development for both consumer and enterprise customers. Her passion for community development and social change ignited after teaching health and cooking to underprivileged families living in Guadalajara, Mexico, empowering them to create new businesses using their cooking skills. She launched Chef Cuchulu, an education tech startup focused on teaching math, science, and geography through an after-school cooking program. After the successful integration of her program at 30 schools in Northern California, Layla's technology was endorsed by the National Science Foundation and received funds to align her curriculum with the state-approved Next Generation Science Standards and Common Core. Fluent in 4 languages, Layla is also very much involved with the community. In 2017, she co-founded Fair Funders, a nonprofit focused on empowering VCs and angel investors to connect and fund female founders and diversify their portfolios. Layla hosts complimentary bi-weekly matchmaking calls for female technology founders. This is amazing. Yeah, and this is just a portion of what she has been doing for years and years and years. And I can tell you my personal flavor of knowing you is that you are always very compassionate. You're always ready to help and support other women organizations and individuals who align with your vision and align with your values. And I also know you from a dear side that really speaks to my heart as a loving mom to these 2 amazing girls. So thank you. And it's really, really a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Let's start with the first question. And the question is, since the program is called Dream Big, what is your biggest vision for yourself?
Well, I think in order to find true happiness for me, 3 things are very important. One is personal relationships, how I position myself in a community, how helpful I am to those around me, and what kind of relationships I build. So I really appreciate what you just said. Health is very important, so I always try to be healthy. And of course, money. I've realized that to make a real difference in life, you need money. And I think as women, we are all so scared and, kind of ashamed to talk about money, but I feel like we really need to, be more confident and bring it up to our friends. I even straight up sometimes ask my female friends who are very successful financially, I'm like, how did you get there? You know, how much money do you make? How can I get there? And of course, I don't want to put the wrong impression out there. I don't mind living in a mansion. I would love that too. But part of, you know, why I really want to be successful financially is because everything that I want to do, especially for children, will require a lot of funds. And in order to make a real impact, it would be very nice to have some money. So, but the biggest vision I have is to see a world that hosts happy, healthy, and smart children.
Oh, I love that. Layla, there's some sound coming. If you can maybe turn off the notification if possible, that would be fantastic. I loved what you said, and what kind of, you mentioned so many directions we can go from here. But my question is, you said you want to support children and you need a lot of funds. So what vision is it for you for that? Like, what would you like to do? Maybe we can just jump into what you're doing right now, your recent project with Chef Kuchulu. What's the vision? How do you want to support the kids?
Well, you know, I launched the idea of Chef Kuchulu about 3 years ago now. And it's not so much, I don't know if geography is the correct word to describe it, but Chef Kuchulu teaches children global competency or global citizenship, and also core subjects such as math and science through healthy cooking. But my vision, you know, so far what we have accomplished through Chef Kuchulu is to educate American students in elementary schools who don't learn about other cultures, who are not learning about basic human geography. We educate them about other countries and why people eat different food and how different cultures are different. And we create that sense of empathy and companionship. And also we help them improve their test scores. So it's kind of like a win-win, and we've seen the impact of the program. So my vision would be to have a program like this in all of the schools in the world. So that's one vision. I also dream of having my own school next. So I'm kind of also planting seeds in that direction, like building my own curriculum that includes the core subjects, but also things that I feel are missing in schools these days, and being able to provide that school as kind of a boarding school for all orphan children or kids who couldn't necessarily afford it. So that would be my kind of second year dream.
Where would you like, that's beautiful. Where would you like to start the school, in the States or in another country?
It really depends at that stage where I'm living. Right now I'm starting with, you know, hosting summer camps with that concept right here in Bay Area, and then I would like to expand it. But definitely I would love to go into rural areas and countries that, you know, need it the most.
Beautiful. Can you tell a little bit more about this about the app itself? What is happening inside the app, so that everybody who is not familiar with that, you guys, first of all, where can they go? I know you can either try it. How does that work? Can people experience it?
Yes, let me explain more about the program. So Chef Kuchulu, we are live in 30 schools as an after-school program. So if you have kids in a school and you want us to come to your school, all you have to do is reach out to me and, you know, make an introduction to your PTA or the principal. It's usually a PTA funded program, and we can come and implement that right away. Then our instructors use our free native app that, you know, you could download for free on iOS or Android. And the link.
So what's the app's name? Can you give us?
Chef Kuchulu.
Chef Kuchulu. Let's spell it out so that people.
Chef, like the person who cooks, CHEF, and then Kuchulu, KOOCHOOLOO. So this native app.
Can I jump?
So write it down maybe, because I don't think anybody will remember.
We will write it after the job, because if we write it right now, nobody will see it because we're doing a live. Yes, but we will, and it's already, isn't that the website? No, the website is different.
No, the website is not different. So if you go on our website, you have links to the apps.
Okay, so it's www.chefkuchulu.com. And you have the links to the apps. Very easy. And once you have it on YouTube, you guys will get the information and you will know how to reach Layla. We're gonna tell you more about that. So don't worry about it. You can also comment underneath the video and share with everybody who would like to be involved and experience it. What does that mean, Kuchulu, that name?
Kuchulu means petite or little in Farsi, Turkish, Kurdish, Italian, Malaysian, and a whole bunch of other languages.
That's beautiful. Okay, so back to what it does and how it works.
So the free app is slightly different than the school version app. So the app you can download from our website is our free version. So it basically, the experience begins by the child choosing a family on our globe. And as they learn about that country, we present them with fun facts about the country. Like, did you know chocolate was discovered in Mexico? And then they start, cooking a healthy recipe from Mexico. And then we present them with fun nutritional science related facts and a little math quiz that is also relevant to the recipe. And the experience ends with them learning about a country in that particular country, about an issue that's affecting kids in that country and how they can take action. So that's the free version. Anybody can download that and start cooking with their family at home. And we use that app in our after school program because in an after school setting, a lot of different kids are put in the same class. So from a first grade to fifth grade, they're all the same class. So we use that content, which is kind of general because I found 99% of Americans also don't know the capital of certain countries or the population or what language they speak. So that kind of works. Now we are now working, with the help from the National Science Foundation for a curriculum that could be used inside the classroom that's more aligned with what, the first graders are supposed to learn or what the second graders are. And then we align it more with the, state guided curriculum that they, what teachers are trying to teach. So we try to align that with our curriculum and have the problems more aligned in that sense.
That's beautiful. So you guys can just experience that if you go to chefkuchulu.com with the links to the app.
To the free app. The school version, I need to give you, you need to either pay or we give you the logins to experience.
Yeah, well, but just to get the taste of it, just to start with, and if you like it and you know what it's all about, rather than listening to the description, which is also helpful, then we can spread the word out about it. I think it's fantastic. I've never heard anything about this really powerful combination, how you use healthy cooking and you use the word healthy and teaching all these other subjects. So I was lucky to watch one of your daughters, Delaray, how she implemented that on the TV show that we were filming, right? One of the recipes. So could you share your story? You have two daughters, and they both come from different cultures. Could you share a little bit more, like how old they are, what they love to do, and why did you decide to go for it?
Sure thing. So I'm originally from Iran, so I look pretty Middle Eastern, and my husband is Belgian. And so our daughter, Delaray, who is 8 years old, she looks not really Belgian or Iranian. So she looks, somewhat Latina, somewhere in the middle. And then we've adopted our second daughter, who's now 3, and she comes from a Tongan heritage. And from her father's side, we assume he must have been an African or African American or a Black because she looks primarily Black. She does not look like the typical Tongan. So that's our family. We are each one different color, and when we're together, most people are always looking at us because we don't look like in what their expectation of a typical family should look like.
It's just it's such a beautiful feeling when I look at your family. I haven't met your husband yet, but you and the 2 beautiful daughters, and they're all so different, even in terms of their personality. How old is I forgot the youngest?
Annalisa, she's 3.
Annalisa is three, and Delara is eight.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, very different and yet so dynamic. And it's just like you represent the diversity right there on a family level.
Yeah.
Why is that passion for children in the first place?
Well, I grew up without my parents. And I think when growing up, my biggest wish was to belong somewhere. And one of my other big dreams was to be adopted, or even, go to an orphanage, because I grew up in a war, and it was like this family member who would take me on, pass me on to the next family member. I never felt really like wanted or equally loved as, and I think that's part of it. Like growing up, I met many other children who had different experiences like that. And sadly, about 2/3 of children who grow up without parents or into the foster system don't really make it into society as successful or fulfilling, in their mind what success should be. So I really want to be able to change that and help kids who suffer from that lack.
I love you. You're giving me chills in my body. Seriously. I thank you so much for sharing that so openly. So on that note, is because you have to juggle as a woman, as an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, as a loving mom, as a dedicated wife. It's a lot to juggle. How do you manage and how do you do that? What's the magic?
I don't know if there is any magic. I think it's different for each individual, and you have to just you have to really define what is important to you, and then make your peace with it, because there will always be people who will judge you, right? There are moms in my daughter's school or even in our neighborhood who always give me those like kind of those looks, because I am coming late to pick up my daughter, or on crazy hair day I miss making the hair look crazy because I had an investor meeting or what have you. But I think what really makes it work is to talk. I constantly have talks with my daughter, and you've met Della, right? It's almost like she's the parent in the relationship, right? So I'll ask her. I'll be like, "Oh my God, have I been a good enough mom this week?" Because we make all these assumptions, right? I'm like, I've been such a horrible mom this week. Oh my God, I was only there for 3 meals. I didn't help you with your math homework, or and then Della will turn around and say, "Why do you say that? You're the best mom ever." And then she'll kind of outline what I did do, right? And then it's very helpful to get that type of validation from your kids, because they kind of remind you what's important, and it's not so much the quantity of time you spend with them, it's the quality. And also just being able to juggle that schedule in a way to allow for it. So I recently read this on some magazine, and it really helped me. Like, it said, if you want to, when making decisions, what activities to prioritize, or who to see, or how to engage in something, if you don't get that feeling of, yes, I want to do this, then don't do it, because that's what it comes down to it. So that's kind of where I am. And it's just sometimes also good to know, because maybe you don't enjoy like potty training your 3-year-old and cleaning up after she makes a mess each time doesn't make you a terrible mom. If you can have help who can help with that, so instead you could go focus on the project that you are really good at and can progress much faster and make a bigger difference in the community, that's okay too, so you can be there for your daughter for things that you're really good at.
I love everything you're saying, because I'm interviewing children too.
Yes.
And you just said, but you said we read it somewhere, because that's what the kids would say. That's having the childlike mentality. Like if you're not sure if at least 1 inch, like one little thing of hesitation in your body, don't do it. It's just like only it's like a yes, I want to do it. Oh my goodness, I just love that. What do you think is the most important thing? How do you see the role of a mom or a parent in general in nowadays? What's the most important thing that we do for our children?
Of course, to be providing the basic support, the making sure they have a roof over their head, they're being healthy, they're being cared for, but also giving them that sense of confidence. And by giving that sense of confidence, I don't necessarily agree with what I feel like kind of the American philosophy is, that you're the greatest, you need to be number one, you're the best, whatever drawing they draw, this is beautiful. I don't necessarily feel that that's giving self-confidence. That's just giving a sense of entitlement, So what I feel like is important is more to educate them why you have these qualities that can help other children in your classroom. Yes, you might not be the greatest at, let's say drawing, but even Picasso took a long time to get there, so reading that story with them, especially with my daughter, I've noticed that's what's giving her confidence, because she wants to be an artist, but then sometimes she's not happy with what she draws, and I don't think it's necessarily helping to say, yes, this is beautiful, don't worry about this. What I do instead, like I go with her and read the story of Picasso. I'm like, do you think Picasso's paintings were great from the beginning? No, and here's what people thought, and this is how long it took him to get to be there. And at the end, when she read the story, she's like, oh, well, if he could do it, I think I can do it too. So I should probably do better, she said, after after she read the book. So it's just providing the tools to determine, how they can gain the skills they need, and also to teach them that, we are all part of a global community, that it's not good enough for us to be the best, but just to be a good citizen of the world, and to make everybody's life better if we can.
I love that. Do you have an impossible story, something that you thought would be absolutely impossible for you, and yet now you can look back and say, oh my goodness, I actually did it?
Well, I think like many women, childbirth, right? That is I think the greatest physical pain imaginable. And literally, I was in labor for 3 days, so that I never thought I would get through. It was a very painful labor, but I got through it. But other than that, I think adoption was very tricky for us, because something went wrong in our adoption process, where we went through the state, and we did foster to adopt. And when they presented our daughter's case to us, they said, this is a child that has that will have many issues, because her biological mother, did not do so many things correctly during pregnancy, and none of her biological family have expressed interest in having her or adopting her. So nobody really wants this child. And so we went for it. We brought her home, and we started caring for her. And of course, right away started loving her. And she became an integral part of our family. But then around 4 months old, they contacted us again, and they said, you know what, actually she does have some family and they do want her. So, and historically, if blood relatives want a child, they want, they get priority. And it's always the, basically the aim for state adoptions to reunify the family versus placing the child with an external family. So that was a very difficult emotional time for us. And we spoke to a few lawyers, and they said, yeah, you basically have no choice but to give her up. And so we kind of prepared ourselves emotionally. It was very hard. And we were like, yes, of course, if the best thing for her is to be with her biological family, then we are going to be supportive of that and do everything to do that. But then, more complications arose, like, for instance, the fact that it would take another 1.5 years or maybe 2 years for that biological family member to be certified to take the child to their home. And then, and then I was very ethically torn, because I'm like, well, what is the ethical right thing to do? Because, I was one of those children who had to constantly go from one home to another, and it was never a good feeling. You just, as soon as you make attachments and you feel like you belong somewhere, they're going to take that away from you. So I really didn't want that to happen to Annalisa. And it just seemed like a very impossible situation to navigate. And until one of our neighbors kindly suggested I talk to one of their lawyers. And this lawyer who'd never met me, she just got on the phone. And what really was helpful was that she was also a foster to adopt mother herself. And she told me, no, absolutely, in my opinion, the right thing to do is to push and fight and have her, because that is, in my opinion, the best thing for the child. But why, don't take my word for it. Why don't you get a psychological assessment and go with that? And so that really helped us to get that psychological. And then the psychologist telling us, no, I assure you that, it would be very, very crucial for her to stay with you guys, because she's already formed those attachments. So it just seemed very impossible. But finally, a year later, all parties agreed and aligned, and we ended up adopting her officially.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And now looking back, it just feels impossible that, she wouldn't be a part of our family. So
yes. She's such a joy, just a bundle of joy. So much energy in this little girl. Well, at some point, we're gonna bring her on the show too.
Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing. So I wanna ask you a little bit, like switch gears, because we are kind of coming to the end of the show, but just a few questions. What inspired you to open or to become a co-founder in this Fair Funders?
Well, when I started my idea for Chef Kuchulu, of course, I didn't do it for money. I just saw a dire need, because my daughter would go to school and she would constantly be teased for bringing in her healthy option when her classmates were eating like the cafeteria hot dog and literally chocolate milk and chips. And then, so I started explaining to her what went inside of a hot dog, and then she never wanted to eat one again. And she started advocating for health eating in her school. And then the teacher asked us to go. So it all grew very organically. And so until I noticed that there was enough demand in schools and enough need, that I quit my job to go and focus on this. As a, and I didn't really know much about nonprofits, for-profits, C Corps. I just kind of went along with whatever school told me I needed to launch the program. So they would be like, you need business insurance, you need a small business license. Getting a small business license was $35 and half an hour. Getting nonprofit status meant like I had to find 5 board members and 1 year, and so I was like, okay, we're getting a business license. So I kind of launched into that. And then I said, well, I'll make this into a startup and go ask for funding.
So how long did it take you to start a nonprofit?
Oh, I didn't start a nonprofit. I made it a business license. I made it took me half an hour, right? And so then when I started talking to a few investors, I just noticed like, oh, well, when am I going to get my 10x return? Of course, most investors are interested in making money. So I was like, well, and then a lot of them, the kind of comments they would give me, like, oh, well, who's going to take care of your kids while you work on this? Or, and I just feel like, or who, who on your team went to Stanford, or like, why did you wait so long to start a company? And I just assumed these things were normal, right? I was like, oh, okay, well, they're right. Like, who am I to think I could launch a company? I mean, like, I didn't go to Stanford, and I'm not 25 years old, and I don't know how to code. So I should just, go back home and take care of my kids, right? That was kind of the message I felt I got. So I started, I didn't give up. I kept working on it organically, self-funding it. We did Indiegogo. And then one of the school principals we were working with, I was telling him I might go back, get a job, because, this is not something that's fundable, because I kept hearing that feedback. No, this won't ever make money. We're not going to fund it. Even though we were making money, that was the funny thing. Schools, we hadn't even built the app, and they were paying us. They were like, oh yeah, we need this here. Let us pay you to accelerate this, And so one principal was like, well, don't go to investors, you know, why don't you apply for a grant from the NSF? So I was like, oh, but you know, I'm not a scientist. But it was really through the mentorship of all the educators we were working with, because they cared so much about what we were doing that they provided that path, and we applied for a grant. And then I met, you know, on this Facebook group, this woman posted that, you know, she had a lot of issues, like when fundraising too, as a woman, not being taken seriously. And all these other women started coming out about sexual harassment. So a few women got on this Facebook group and said, hey, how about we create a platform for female founders to, you know, identify the right investors, because there are good investors out there who care about social impact. But it's like, the question is, how do we get to them? How do we position ourselves? How do we get our numbers right so they can see the value? And how can we kind of create this movement? And so that's what inspired me to join that group of women. So it wasn't my own idea. I joined somebody else's. I said, yes, what can I do to help? But there was 10 of us, and out of that 10, there's only like 3 of us who are continuing to go, because I guess we felt most passionately about it, and we could juggle our other activities around it.
I just absolutely love your passion behind everything you do, and how you show up as a mom and a support in the society. So just so inspiring just to listen to you, seriously. How many languages? You said 4 languages, right? 4 languages that you speak. What are they?
French, Spanish, English, and Farsi.
How come?
Well, I'm
originally Farsi, right?
Yes.
And then
I came to US, so I had to learn English. And then I was a French major in college. And I moved to Mexico. Actually, I worked on this project where I worked in orphanages around Mexico, and also worked with poverty-stricken communities to help them come out of poverty. So during that time, I also was able to learn Spanish.
Amazing. I know Delarai, one of your daughters, she speaks how many languages?
The same 4.
Yeah. The same 4 languages. It's just fascinating. So I just can't thank you enough. It seems like we haven't even tapped into the subject of money, which I love that you brought up at the beginning of the conversation. But I guess we're gonna be having you back on the show if you will be open to that, and then we can tap into that, because I believe the conversation has to be more open, especially nowadays, and especially coming from a woman. And yes, we never talk about money openly, and we should. We should. Although I try not to use the word "should," but it would be nice to have that conversation, because there's not.
It would be helpful. How about that? It would help us. It would be
very helpful and empowering too. And empowering, yes. So thank you so much, guys. You are watching Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite and refine and refuel your life. My guest is Layla Sabourian, and if you are inspired by her, but by her mission, I love the way you phrased it. You said that we started the movement. So it's not just the thing that you're doing. It's not the business. It's not just another nonprofit or another app. It's the movement that you started, and it's all related to empowering kids and women in general. And I love, love, love everything you do. If you feel the same way, guys, the listeners and the viewers, please support. If you want to get involved, just go to chefkuchulu.com. So it's CHEF, and then it's KOOCHOOLOO.com, right? chefkuchulu.com. And you can find out how to be involved. You can also comment below the video if you're on Facebook, and leave the comments of questions for Layla or for me. Share it with as many women you know, not necessarily women, we love men too, conscious men, and just be involved and get inspired. Let us know what you think about this interview, and we'll see Layla next time. Layla, before we finish, I can't let you go without the last question I ask all my guests on the show. What is one gem that you can share at the end of the program out of your treasure box? Could be a quote that you love, could be just anything that inspires you.
Well, I think, I love learning foreign languages because it has helped me connect to different communities and feel a part of that culture. But after learning all the different languages and traveling around the world, what I've learned is that love knows no language and no color. It's really stronger than everything else. So as long as you can get in touch with your inner love and give love to those around you, you're going to be all right.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you on another show. Bye for now, guys, and share and big love from Layla. And thank you, Layla Sabourian. And have a beautiful, loving day.
Thank you, Zhanna, and thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.